mind, do not give up on that idea or those ideas that you have.
All these highs and lows that I had went through, it was a learning moment in each step of the way.
That we go through seasons and changes in life, and when we go through them and we get the things that we need to get from it, it just helps us when we encounter another season where it's time to learn again.
Don't prove your haters right, man. Don't do it. Continue on, man.
Push forward in whatever you're passionate about, and believe in yourself more than anyone believes in you.
Just want to encourage people out there. It's, if you're in the lows,
What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
Sir. What's going on, man? Hope all's been well today, man.
Yeah, man. Just got off of work not too long ago.
Yes, sir.
Sun is still up, so got some time to chat it up. And so, man. How about you?
Man, good, man. It's feeling good. I was feeling good outside. Got around with the little people earlier to run around outside and play. Worked some today and did some editing for the podcast. But other than that, man, good day. So we're gonna jump straight in, actually.
All right, let's do
it. I
got
some things I gotta ask you. I'm gonna start off with so what's a stereotype about black men that you personally challenge in your daily life?
Man, there's multiple. But I do have like one story that kind of it goes with like the day-to-day stereotypes that I face, right? So it was, I think it was 2 years ago. We had went to actually New Orleans for my wife's birthday. So we like to travel for birthdays and stuff like that, and sightsee and experience new places. So went to New Orleans because she never went to it. That's the area in the city of Louisiana. But so we were there and obviously having a good time. And so I had reserved a actual dinner at a restaurant called San Lorenzo. At the Hotel St. Vincent, which is a pretty nice hotel, pretty prestigious. The restaurant San Lorenzo is very prestigious as well. So we like to be, very posh, as you will, when it comes to restaurants, and also experience some luxury restaurants and food. But while we were there, man, we were just having a good time, and there was this group of older ladies, like late ladies, in their 60s, I'd say mid 60s, and they noticed us, and they kept on like looking over, and so I didn't think anything of it, I thought it was because interracial couple, something like that, but so we're just going through our night, and before they had left, one of the older ladies came up to me, and she was like, "Hey, excuse me, do you play for New Orleans Saints? Hey, do you like?" No, I kid you not, bro. I get this all the time, bro. I get this all the time.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Do you play?"
I didn't expect that to come. That's why I'm like that.
I know, but I get that a lot. And so I told her, "No, I'm just, I work in, in the business. I work in sales and stuff like that." And so they left, but my wife and I were like kind of chuckling to each other. I should, and I said, like, I should have told them, "Nah, I actually am part owner of this restaurant."
Right,
I should have said something crazy like that.
Hey,
but no, I wind up not. But
yeah.
So those instances always happen. Like whenever I'm in a very nice hotel, or we go to a very nice restaurant or a place that has high prestige or like costs quite a bit. I get these, "Oh, are you a ball player?"
Yeah, because you tall too.
Yeah, I'm tall. I did play football. I played collegiate level football as well. Yeah. But so does a lot of other people that aren't my height, aren't my size, that play other sports and stuff like that. And so, but that shouldn't be a person's first thought. Because I'm in a certain room that they are in. And so I was always made a point to to try to be the best in the room as far as for when it comes to education, sports, and obviously my profession. I try to be, the best. Try to work my hardest, and so just having those things come into question, it's like sometimes it can be deflating. I'm like, all right, like that doesn't have to be the reason why I'm in this space in this room, and so it's a constant thing.
So it sounds like perception, but also people assuming as well.
Exactly.
So perception and assumption equals what, right?
Exactly.
So like that's what it sounds like really, and that can be frustrating too. That can be frustrating in a lot of different ways. And for me, I'm not your height. I'm not your height, but I was an athlete as well.
Yep.
I ended up going I ended up going to play sports at a private school, which was predominantly white. So for me, it was actually wearing a uniform I was seen in a certain way when I would go out into public areas. So I'll be in stores because I actually my parents, they used to just let me go. So with other families and other students, because they had to go pick up my younger sisters and my little brother, and then just me publicly being around like white families, other white athletes, teammates. I was always with them. When I say I was always with them. So in the public, when I was with them, I used to get this long stare publicly, like, what is this kid doing with them? That though I had a uniform, sometimes as a black man, and what you can see in some families that are white families, you will see, if you see a kid that may be black, they'll think that you're adopted. And so that perception of me and that assumption is that, okay, he's adopted. And so I embrace these parents. They weren't my parents, but I'll be with these parents, grocery stores and everywhere publicly. So that happened to me a lot when I was in the school. But one thing that happened though was when I played sport, when it was game time and people showed up at games, I was the first one selected. And it was expected of me to be one of the most dominant players in the sports that I played. So they expected that, but they didn't expect me to be around amongst certain people publicly. You know what I mean? So from an athletic standpoint, like I said, I'm not your height, but I've dealt with just walking around with a uniform. Or why is he wearing a uniform? Like, can he afford that? Not knowing all that I went through to even get to this school. So it was just that assumption. And I got questioned a lot. And I had a lot of things said to me too. But at the end of the day, I was able to be myself, and I communicated with others and said, hey, look, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm here to accomplish. But at the same time too, how I was perceived in the public, that was that. But I'm not saying this from a racial standpoint. I'm saying this more from the standpoint of how I can be perceived as a black man in this and in these days that we're living in and in those times. So.
I 100% agree, man. Like, it's the perception that people place on you. It's, it can cause people to now view you in a certain way, but and also be disappointed when when you don't live up to the expectation of this quote unquote view, So I totally agree. And I think that you've talked to me about this, that you kind of instilled into your children. It's about what they are passionate about and driving that because, you're not forcing upon them sports constantly, but you're forcing them on to be creative in their own way. Obviously, they're gonna have some extra, curricular activities, outside of school, but so they can keep them busy. But it doesn't have to be sport. It doesn't have to be the quote unquote stereotype, right? And so,
looking at your journey, looking at your life, education was a big thing, right? For me, getting to know 100%. You, education was important. Sports were important, but education was number one. And I was just talking to someone, someone we really respect, a leader yesterday, and we were talking about family. We talk about sports, and we're family. So I was like, my children get certain components from his family, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure they were dominant." But he said one thing he remembers is that your family was known for, getting scholarships not only academically but also athletic scholarships along with academic scholarships, and so that was a big
Right.
thing. But so for you growing up, that being enforced in your home, how did that impact you
Yeah.
as far as the structure, right? Because I knew education was like really number one, really before the sport part. So
No, it gave us I'll say an outlet, but it gave us a new direction, because what is the likelihood of
Yeah.
somebody going pro, right?
Right, yeah.
What's the likelihood of somebody even going to college to play, sports, and then going D1, D2, And so even at an early age, my father, he was all about education. My mother pushed us to continue further on into, the collegiate level space. And so every single one of my siblings, including myself, went to college. And so, which was pretty great to see me, the youngest of 11, being able to see my siblings kind of lead the way. It was also kind of a sense of pride as well. So I think that instilling education into your children, instilling education into your mindset, so that you can be just a multi threat. Because imagine being chased down by somebody that's very athletic and can know how knows how to talk the talk and walk.
Right.
And so I think that it's just a great way to be and to promote education, to promote being creative outside of sports.
Good.
And obviously, you might have the gifting of being athletic and doing these things, but it's more important things out there as well.
That's good, man. So you bringing up just the importance of teaching your children leadership, teaching your children to be artistic, teaching your children to be well versed, right? And in many ways, it's something that's not only instilled, but it's something you're passionate about passing down to, your family and your children. And so, and you see that, and how you lead and guide, yours. And I really look at something my father used to always say is that every single one of our children are different, and none of them are the same, but each of them are unique. And I'm learning that more and more on which ones are, more creative and which ones are, a little bit more sharper in certain areas.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they all inspire each other from the oldest, inspiring the youngest,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like, superstars like Shaquille O'Neal, like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, like a lot of these guys, they went into, sports full force in the pro levels, but after they retired, they went back to college. They went back and got some more additional knowledge, because you can have all the money, but you're not going to be able to manage it as well. You're not able to keep it, right? So that's where education comes in, and you don't want somebody to swindle your money or finesse you. So it's been important, man, to instill education. And also just being creative, because I know that looking at you, bro, like, would you ever have thought that you'd be in the space that you're in, or even myself, like being at the top of our fields?
Never thought.
And so, we had a dream of, playing sports, balling out and doing these things. But obviously, it's good to have those dreams, but to continue to also, like I said, be a multiple threat when it comes to yourself, because if you can be creative in the arts and stuff, being educated, and also being playing sports, man, the sky's the limit. Because you have now multiple outlets. You can intertwine the three. You can and also just focus on one, but having the backup of the other two. So I think that it's very important when it comes to that.
Definitely very important, man. So I think that just the stereotypes that you can walk through and navigate, they're not always tied to racial things, but some of those stereotypes can just be just your presence alone and who you are, and
Yep.
just again, like when you walk in the room, it is okay, and it is a great thing to be, like you said, had to be educated.
Yep.
And you look at when you talk about athletes, you talk about Steph Curry and what he's done. So him finishing his degree while he is literally competing in the playoffs, like that right there is amazing. Plus, on top of that, I think what's amazing too is that he's actually working an actual position in the school, in the program recently, and I got to look it up exactly what position he took at the school that he went to, that he graduated from, and he's actually now working directly with athletes and things of that nature. So, and he's working with the program in a position while he's still competing for
Yeah.
another championship while he's still in his 30s, and so 30s
Yeah,
in his 30s.
Yep.
So I think it's while you are in that space of being in your 30s, being black, in these days, I'm close to the age of Steph Curry, and I don't know why I'm talking about him. That's my guy. I love, man, I love watching that man play.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, something I'm so impacted by as well is what he does off the court. And
Yep.
so in our lives, there's things that we do in our field and in our careers and in our businesses, and we do it at a high level. I can hear certain people say, don't chase money, just do what you love and do it at the highest level.
Yep.
And then money comes with
Money
it, right?
comes, it follows.
Success comes with it.
Yeah.
And it all follows. And so it's something we kind of talked about last episode, is just not cheating the game, but just not cheating life.
Yeah.
And not cheating your business, not cheating those passions and those things that you want to do, those art studios that you want to open, those ideas that come to mind. Do not give up on that idea or those ideas that you have, and just understand that, like, it's amazing that you do whatever you do and achieve at the highest level, but it's also important in these days too to pursue education and just also make sure you actually know what you're doing and you're knowledgeable. So
100%, man. Whatever you're creative in or you're passionate about, man, be obsessed about it, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something where, you're looking at art or you're, TikTok and you're trying to do these, extravagant edits or, whatever it looks like when it comes to being creative, like, be obsessed with it. But also, I would say encourage to journal. I would say either when it comes to journaling by like doing posts and constantly talking about the process, because I just wanted to encourage you, like, the best part of becoming successful is, the process to it, because you will look back and see like, oh wow, like, all these memories that I've created, all these highs and lows that I had went through. It was a learning moment in each step of the way. So I just encourage, young black men, or anybody, just to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Be obsessed with it when it comes to, it could be sports, but it also can be, the creative arts. It can be education. Be obsessed with it. Try to be more curious and trying different ways and of thinking and just be obsessed with the journey to success.
That's
because
good.
a lot of times, if you go into kind of Kobe's portfolio, you go into LeBron's, Michael Jordan's portfolio, you can see the highs and lows, right, of their career. Michael Jordan getting cut, from the high school team. Kobe Bryant kind of not being able to fit into kind of the American lifestyle, because he was, he lived in like Italy for a long period of time. Kanye lived overseas, and I think it was China, and then came over here and had a different type of, a learning mechanism. And so he became his own thing. Right now, I don't know what he's doing now. but right now, like, just talking about being obsessed with your arts, being obsessed with something that you love, because it now allows you to be in the moment and enjoy the process. So I just want to encourage people out there. It's, if you're in the lows, be in the lows, understand what's going on, know that it's not going to be like that constantly, you know, and so enjoy those process, because at the end of the day, when you're like in the 80s, you know, I've talked to, you know, older men and women saying in the 80s, you know, they'll say, you know, the process, like the being in the thick of it was the most, I would say, fun to say and during their career or their life, because it allowed them to appreciate those moments.
That's so real. That's so real. It's if you're low, stay in the low and learn what you learn while you're in the low, because when you get up to when you're up, you look back and say
perfect that low, because when you're up in the highs and you're successful, there's gonna be eyes on you constantly, so you have to be perfected,
and people know you had lows.
I tell you what, hey, if Stephen Curry didn't have those lows of, you know, trying to perfect his 3-point shot, he wouldn't be in NBA.
So many shots up, for sure. You know for sure. Definitely. Because,
you know, he's not the tallest guy, you know, and he doesn't have the highest jumps. But he perfected that quick release.
And that's why he's so why he's so coveted.
Exactly.
He's so coveted because he's 6'3".
Yeah.
He's a height in America where, you know, there's a lot more men that are more his height versus
you saw him at the Olympics, bro. Like he shot over Wemby, bro. That shot like what 7'4" something, bro.
Shot over him. Nothing but net. Nothing but
that's quick release. So he had to perfect that when he was in the lows. He had to perfect that before he got to NBA, because he knew he was going to be going up against. Right. So transition that to your life, right?
Yeah.
You know that you're about to be up against these other people that are wanting to do the same things you're doing. They're trying to be, you know, booked as far as for their services. They're trying to be, you know, an actor just like you. But what are you doing that's different? Are you going to be in that low where you're trying to perfect your craft? So that there is no openings. There's no holes. You know, in your fence. So like it's
you know, and some lows come to their opportunities to test your character.
Exactly.
The opportunities to teach you perseverance.
That's facts.
To teach you consistency. They're opportunities that within the low you can take this and you can learn from it and you can apply it to another season in your life. And I think that we go through seasons and changes in life, and when we go through them and we get the things that we need to get from it, it just helps us when we encounter another season where it's time to learn again. It's time to, you know, to close the door, lock in, and do what you have to do. But something I wanted to bring out really quick, that something we kind of had down was, you know, we asked that question about what's the stereotype about Black men that you personally challenge your daily life. But some of the things I love that we had down here is some of the facts. And, you know, and I'm going to skip to this one. It says, you know, but Black men are often portrayed as aggressive, yet studies show we are also viewed as leaders in community building. And so can you kind of go into that a little bit? So again, Black men are often portrayed as aggressive.
I mean, honestly, man,
but
even in what I do, you know, in the corporate realm, like I have to keep myself very poised, very methodical in my approach. Even like in my job and in my career, like it's all about being poised. It's all about being methodical in your thinking and your approach. Being in sales, you're gonna get out of the one yes, you'll get like 1,000 no's. So being poised, even when you're like in your last straw, you know, you tried everything, still said no. You got to be very poised. But even when it comes to, you know, sort of certain relationships, or it comes to like just certain encounters randomly out in the open, you know, they expect you to wild out. You know, they expect you to react in an aggressive way, and just so that they're looking for that, right? So especially if you're in a leadership position, if you're, you know, pro athlete, you know, they're expecting you to be aggressive, so they can you can put it in the news, but not giving them that energy, not giving them that attention, because you know, obviously they're like, you know, they're gonna expect that. They're gonna want to try to view you in the light that they thought you were actually in, you know? So being poised, being methodical, you know, I always learned that from my dad, man. He'd tell me, my mom would tell me stories about when he played football at Davidson.
Mm-hmm.
He was a running back, and he was a great running back.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they would actually, give them the ball to run the ball. And when they get down close to the end zone, they would take him out and put a white running back in to score. So obviously that made him upset, but he kept himself in a place where he's thinking that he knows for a fact that he's better. He's better than this.
Yeah.
And at the end goal, he's thinking about the end goal and the things that he wanted to do. So
your father instilled in you just through that example.
Yeah.
That teaches you for the rest of your life, right?
Yep.
That's the impact of, like you said, when we gain knowledge, when we have knowledge, it puts us in a whole different position in life, and that right there, it puts us in a position to be successful because you can learn from that low point in your father's life.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And that goes directly to even being a father, right? So like if you're not, your child starts reacting or doing certain things they're not supposed to be doing, like
I know.
For example,
downstairs cutting up,
being poised because they watch everything you do. It's like they're watching in their eyes it's a movie, like they're looking at everything.
Yeah.
And so being poised, it's a trickle down effect for them to be poised and be able to manage their emotions and the way they react as well.
I appreciate you sharing that, man. That's not only a good reminder, but that's going to help. Yeah. That's going to help somebody. That helped me as well. And even that story, I haven't heard that story. So that does help me. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, what about you, man? I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Long-winded.
No, you're good. You're good. I love what you shared there. I'm gonna hit this last point here.
Okay.
And black male success stories in tech, finance, and healthcare are growing, but representation in media, remains low. And so something you did talk about was like tech. Something you were talking about was finance and healthcare. And so you are seeing the growth of
you're literally the representation of that.
Yeah. Especially now in tech. Yeah. Specifically, I'm seeing that, and it's you. We go through this phase of we want to be viewed a certain way, as much as when we experience this thing where people view us a certain way. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we just want people to view us in a way where we feel respected. Yeah. And we feel valued. We feel like we have a voice. And so I was in the educational space for 7+ years. And so in the educational space, there was not enough representation among represented in the schools, I would say, where you had a lot of black teachers, specifically in the system I was in. Or black professionals, because most of them were like janitors, most of them were in a cafeteria, most of them were in a lower position where they weren't making the salaries that your teachers, your therapists, your counselors, and your leadership within the schools are making. And so I was typically seen as someone who's not that important at all. And so with a leadership background, I still was seen a certain way. And so I tried to perform and spend so much time trying to impress versus inspire. Right. And that's what I live by now, is that how can I spend more of my time inspiring? And I work with young people.
Wow. Yeah.
And the population I work with,
Yeah.
And I don't want to go into that, but if I give a backstory, I was in an alternative public school. So my kids were already in trouble. Mm-hmm. So they come in to our school in trouble. Yeah. And we try to help them leave successful. And so in my position, I was very influential and very impactful. And I inspired a lot of the kids. But my struggle I struggled to inspire or impact my peers, those I worked with, because my position wasn't as high as theirs.
Gotcha.
But when the students graduated, they would say, "Thank you, Mr. Forbes."
Right.
But they wouldn't say thank you to a lot of other respected people who were, in a sense, above me, right? So that was my low season, and I had to embrace it. I had to be okay with it. Yeah. So I encountered someone in Marshalls. My family was out, and they they used to be excited to see me because I used to work with them, right? But that excitement was a little bit different this time. And they were like, "So how are you doing? Are you still doing this?" And I'm like, "Why'd you have to say it like that?" Within myself, I'm like, "Why you have to say it like that?"
Yeah.
But to them, they had a perspective. They had their perspective of what my life looked like. They don't know the success I'm experiencing. They just like, hey. But what I had to do is not go into performance mode to try to prove anything. I just said, "How are you doing? How's things going for you?" I care.
Yeah.
But I'm no longer in education, so you're where when you advance, it's not as exciting. But what I do in my actual business, I do it and I love it. Yeah. But listening to them, they don't enjoy what they do. They just they just got to do what they got to do to make more money, to provide for their family. But what I ran into was just that trying to prove to people that, like, hey, in anything I do, I'm gonna try to find a way to love what I do and do it at the highest level.
Yep.
And whether I make a lot of money or at that time where I wasn't making much, but I'm able to make more than what I made in that time. But I always put all my passion into what I do, and focus more on inspiring versus trying to impress people.
That's good, man. Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, man. I just want to encourage y'all, man. Like, do what you're wanting to do as far as your passion, your goals. Just do it. Yeah. And parents, let your child do what they want to do as far as their passion, because like they don't want to be miserable for the rest of their lives, right? They don't want to be within a certain space that they don't want to, be in. Let them thrive in a place that they enjoy, because they're not going to work a day of your life if you enjoy what you do.
That's right.
So
that's the key right there.
Yeah,
that's the key right there, man.
That's it, man.
So man, appreciate you, man. I think this was good, man. Every time I think we kind of tap in on some of the things that we been reflecting on and thinking about. It it might go left, might go right, but I think that at the end of the day, ultimately, we have to just continue, or for anyone out there too, is just continue to push forward in whatever you're passionate about, and believe in yourself. More than anyone believes in you. And when you do that, like, you will see, and I think we use the word success a lot, but you will see improvement, constant improvement. You'll continue to be curious, because when there's improvement, there's always curiosity. And so if you want to just get 1% better and that's your focus, then lock in on that and do it. But just remain, steady and consistent. And you'll see what's on the other side of that. And something I like to preach all the time is like, just keep stacking days. Just stack days. Build on what today looked like for tomorrow, and just keep stacking and just keep building. And that's that 1% better. And I know that's more of a motivation approach, but I think that there's something about what that does for you from the standpoint of character, because character is what's going to carry you. Character is always going to carry you, but your gifts, your talents, they're going to take you places, but character is what's going to always carry you and sustain you. So.
Keep on, keep on. Like I said, EJ said character, and even in your lows, man. Like, going back before we go, another example is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? Yeah. Like, he was playing for, I think, the Hurricanes. He was trying to go pro. Obviously, he had some issues, I think, with injury, or it just wasn't quote unquote good enough, and he's down in the dumps. Into wrestling. That had his ups and downs, and he just kept his character and his drive. And look at him now, like, he is a literally a blockbuster actor. So even currently, a kid, I'll say kid, he's probably my age, but Ashton Hall, the dude that is on Instagram that has like the runs everywhere and the workouts at the Jack dude. Yeah, bro, he same way, man. Like, he was playing college football, man, and he didn't get much playing time, and so he, fortunately he quit school and he went into the workforce and stuff like that. I think he started like as a personal trainer or something like that, and then he started to gain quite a bit of following and posting and stuff like that, and kept on grinding and quit that, and he went full force into content and social media, and now he has I think 10 million followers, probably making mad money because he's always like running right in front of like a Mack truck, a Rolls Royce. So he's doing his thing, so obviously that could be off the side, but he's still doing something that he loves, right? So just continue where you're at, continue grinding, keep your character, but continue grinding, and all the work out.
Change the stereotypes.
Yep.
Change the narrative, change the perception, change what my mentor always said was assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. And so it's
that's good.
You're not ignorant but you're valuable. You have something to give, you have something to offer, and the stories that were told today and what you're sharing is they just never quit.
Yep.
And that's the key key to winning right there. Just don't quit. And bro, we grew up playing. We played sports, and quitting wasn't an option.
Don't prove your haters right, man. Don't do it.
Continue
on, man.
That's right.
And
it's good.
And I hope this helps you, just recharge your week, so hopefully your life, man. Hopefully we can help
100%
change just that 1% of it.
1% every single time, every episode, man. It's about that 1%. So thank you guys for tapping in with us here on Recharge. Every time we have a conversation, we feel recharged, we feel rejuvenated. We feel where iron sharpens iron. And we leave good to go. So
all right. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Peace. Yeah.